We are live with a 30-second countdown. 20. I guess I should blast it out to people once again. Five seconds. Oh God, it's not working properly.
Oh man.
Oh, I am live. All right, it's fine. It's working fine. Because when I checked my channel, it says scheduled to start. I thought it started a separate video.
Nope, you're good.
All right, guys, we're live with 5 people in the chat. Who are the 5s? Come say hello to us so we know who are they. Just give us a moment while I put the word out that we're live.
All right. And while he's doing that, we'll be joined shortly by the infamous Kyle Poole. And I believe it's already on here, but we're going to be talking about scene building and expansion and kind of where people are at in their communities right now this evening. So,
Oh, Adam, you're pulling your weight as a co-host now.
oh man, am I? Don't expect too much more of that.
Third session, so keeping things going. We'll see how long this lasts. But yeah, while we are waiting for people to come in, and I see Chris Mozart, Horde of Things from New Zealand, Jason Burr. Good morning or evening, depending on where you are. It's morning for me, evening for Adam. So this is the only time slot that works for us. My job is quite flexible. And I guess Adam will want to come online at night. So that would mean the European folks, it's in the middle of the night for them. So it's unfortunate we can't get a timing where it fits all 3 time zones, right? But while we're waiting for people to come in, today's topic is about growing the community, or where the community is at with 4th edition. So I also made a video recently to promote Kings of War. So I think it'll be apt to share it. If I can do it, let me see. Share screen. All right.
Yeah, Quebec City for Christian. Jason Burr is one of our U.S. folks. He's out of Minnesota.
All right. I guess you can see this on full screen. Let's play it. So this video is on my channel.
Looks like we're seeing just our faces. I don't think we're seeing the video.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I know what we're supposed to do. I'm supposed
look,
to
there's a
edit to the
video.
stage. I'm still new to this, folks. All right, so this is a video on my YouTube channel to promote. So feel free to use this video to introduce the game to your friends or people you're trying to recruit. In 4 minutes, let me give you 4 reasons to play Kings of War by Mantic Games. Is the sound coming through?
Yes, I can hear it.
Battles in a fantasy world. Most war games today focus on small skirmishes. Kings of War delivers the sweeping spectacle of full armies colliding. If you loved the grand battle scenes from The Lord of the Rings, this is your game. Humans, elves, dwarves, orcs, goblins, halflings, demons, dragons, and even angels, pit them against each other in truly epic fantasy warfare. 2. Fast, streamlined rules. No overcomplexity. The rules emphasize regiments and hordes that move, fight, and die as cohesive blocks. This means less bookkeeping, faster combat resolution, and more time enjoying the battle. A standard competitive game wraps up in about 2 hours, perfect for an evening session. New players can pick it up quickly, often able to play on their own from the second half of a demo game. Yet the system has enough depth to keep veterans engaged for years. 3. Multi-basing, creative hobby freedom. Units are mounted on movement trays, so you can design scenic diorama-style bases, miniature stories on every tray, like this zombie diorama, or rats spilling out from a mine. The fantasy setting is rich but flexible, letting you invent your own themes and backstory for your own unique army. With 20 factions and more coming, you'll find your unique army style, like my Persian Abyssal Army or Mongolian Northern Alliance. Choose from Abyssal Dwarfs, slave-driving overlords, Basileia, authoritarian angelic order, Dwarfs, expansionistic and engineering, Elven kindreds, ancient, proud, and fractured, Empire of Dust, Egyptian-themed undead, Forces of Nature, forest folk and elementals, Abyssal Forces, demonic legions, Goblins, cowardly yet ambitious schemers, Halflings, tinkerers and food lovers, Kingdoms of Men, Night Stalkers, nightmarish horrors, Northern Alliance, coalition from the cold north, Ogres, nomadic mercenaries, Orcs, bloodthirsty warriors, Ratkin, proliferating vermin hordes, Salamanders, reptilian fighters, Trident Realm of Neretica, seaborne armies, Twilightkin, dark twisted elves, undead, skeletons, zombies, werewolves, vampires, Zerkali, East Asian canine humanoids. Already own a fantasy army? Come try out Kings of War with those models. 4. Thriving local, regional, and global community. The game isn't just about battles, it's about people. For me here in Singapore, we host Kings of War nights every other Tuesday and run at least 4 local tournaments annually. Regionally, Clash of Kings Asia is held in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, drawing players from across Southeast Asia and beyond. Also a perfect short weekend getaway for the family man. Globally, the scene is vibrant. Kings of War UK in September attracts more than 200 players every year, drawing players from UK and Europe, including France, Germany, Spain, and Poland. Each country have their own vibrant scene as well. And Singapore has been there. Clash of Kings Australia in January gathers 60 over players every year. In USA, there's a strong competitive scene with the US Masters and Clash of Kings USA at Adepticon. Wherever you are, casual gamer or competitive player, you'll find a welcoming community and regular events to join. All right, that is the end of the video.
It's a great intro video. It's the first time I've seen it.
Yeah, thank you. Took me quite a while to make it. So, Adam, I'm sure you have some video making experience, so you are quite familiar with how long it takes to make a video, even a simple one. So,
yeah, I don't edit my videos though, so I couldn't make anything like that. Everything I do is just me talking and some pictures. So that's it.
Yeah, editing is a pain because for every minute of footage, it takes 5 to 10 minutes to edit because you have to listen back, you have to crop it off, you have to listen to it again, listen the whole thing, see if it flows. So it just the time compounds when you have to edit a longer and longer video.
Yeah.
So that video took me almost a month to create. And speaking of which, we have our guest backstage. So I'm gonna add you onto the stage, Carl. In 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Hello.
Whoa.
And today we're joined by a larger than life personality, Carl Poole. Give us a short introduction of yourself.
That's all camera angle, Paige. All camera angle. I'm Kyle Dino Lord Poole, upper mid-table goblin player extraordinaire, and best friend, raging extrovert of the community.
You dropped the goblin, the best goblin player act finally.
I'm the best melee goblin player.
Okay,
Well, I'm not.
We'll allow that.
Yeah, I have friends.
That's true. You do.
So.
Well, I'm the best goblin player in Singapore on a Tuesday right now. We're adding qualifiers.
It's about knowing where you belong, you know?
Right. So Carl, you just came back from your weekly game night, haven't you?
Yep, I actually was racing to the office to hop on here from community game night, Mantic Mondays.
Awesome. How many players were present?
Today in the store we had 6 plus 2 were playing a makeup game at Eric's house. Their game got interrupted last week with personal stuff, so they decided to go have a consolation game in the basement with beers.
Yeah. When you say makeup game, do they resume the game from a certain state? Did they take a picture?
No, they just started over. But for us, a normal week is 4 is on normal Monday. 4 is really light. 6 to 8 in the store is normal. We have 3 tables, so we make it work. But it's a rare day that we have an unused table in the store. Usually, we're hoping someone else cancels and we can snag another one. So
I've been there. Right. I've actually been to a local Ohio Monday night game event. I did a doubles game.
Yeah, that's what we were doing tonight.
It's great stuff. They got a great store. They got a lot of great people in Columbus. So very jealous of their active scene that they have out there.
How's the scene at your site, Adam? Like, do you guys have regular game nights?
Yeah, so our game nights are also Monday night. I wasn't able to make it tonight. I usually get out there about every other week. And our normal weeks are averaging 1 to 2 games, so between 2 and 4 players. But it increases when there's an event that people are getting ready for, and it kind of decreases once the events have just happened and things are kind of dying down. So, but I would say one to 2 games. Our main ringleader is Russ Barnes. He is the godfather of the Omaha Gaming Group. Pretty much no matter what game anybody plays, whether it was 40K, Fantasy, AOS, Kings of War, Russ was probably one of the guys that got you into the game. So we are lucky to have him.
Right. Let me just scroll through some of the comments. December said Adam Ballard has been.
It's true.
From New Zealand, Chris Moizan. From Quebec City, greetings. And Vermin9190 said, I made a Northern an Alliance WoW human, World of Warcraft human team army, and Ogres Renee army too.
Very cool.
Warcraft flair into Kings of War. He says, I love Kings of War. All of you, it's great interview. Thank you. I do hope that people can use it to introduce more people to the game. So Adam, have you been playing things at all in the past few weeks since Masters?
No, I haven't, which isn't uncommon for me, honestly. Usually coming off of a tournament, I take a short break from playing. But that's typically because I would go quite hard into practice games and things like that leading up to the event. But that didn't really happen for Masters this year. I just kind of took a much less competitive approach to the event as a whole. So, but had fun hanging out with everybody still. And as I kind of spoke last week, the elves just weren't as fun of an army to play as I was hoping. So,
yeah. Josh Laffoon is online. He is one of the core playtest group, which we'll talk about later. I've played a game of Abyss last week, so this is my Lord of Lies on the painting table.
Nice.
Got 2 colors in, so I'll slowly get this painted. It is the most expensive, but the strongest dragon in the game, so I would love to make it work.
Are you sure it's the most expensive? Have you looked at a Pappy's price tag?
Oh, Empire of Dust doesn't exist yet.
That's true.
Nobody's playing
it. Then you're right. You're right. But yeah, if you look at a Pappy's profile and what he brings to the table, I'll take Lord of Lies all day, every day.
I mean, it's one of these is better than the other, Adam.
All right, so let's get into it. So today's topic is inspired by one post on Fanatics. So let me try to share the screen again, just to go through that. And I have to throw it onto the stage. That's what I remember to do now. All right. So, started by one Francis Bradley Winslow. Has anyone noticed a drop in enthusiasm and participation in tournaments and gaming with this new edition? And it has 49 comments. So definitely there are some people who have experienced growth, but I've counted and majority has negative growth, drop off in enthusiasm. So there's an increase here, 1, 2. This has a loss of enthusiasm. And in France, it's really bad. So about half the players have dropped off. Okay. Australia is doing really well in certain regions, except for Luke's region.
So Luke's the problem, is what I just heard. Got it.
I think so.
That tracks.
The one time that I would like to invite him on the show, he says, "No, I got nothing to share about my region. Attendance is down." Luke, I believed in you.
Yeah, thanks for your insight, Luke. Appreciate it.
Mid-Atlantic in the US has fallen off a cliff. I've heard the Nerd Hammer crew, most of them went back to War Machine. So that's a big competition, isn't it? Because a lot of Kings of War players are ex-Fantasy and ex-War Machine players.
Yeah. And it's actually the Nerdhammer group. I think there are some people missing out of that, but it's primarily the dojo group from the Mid-Atlantic that is. It sounds like there's practically none of those players continuing to play Kings at the moment. They're all back into War Machine. So,
which is fine. The new edition of War Machine is good. It's very enjoyable. It's very compelling. It fixed a lot of the issues people had going from second to third. So it's expected to see a game that had a refugee base correct issues and then sort of reacquire those temporaries. So it's no different than when you look at Warhammer Fantasy switching to AOS, or Old World coming out or whatever. There's always going to be switch anytime any major game has an edition change. Much like 4th edition brought and lost players. Here we'll have 40K's new edition, Old World as it gets updates AOS. So anytime you have a change in any major structured wargaming platform, we see a shift. It also translates to trading card games. So seeing a shift of a player base, and usually you shift whole communities. It's not like one or two guys. It's usually like, hey, our club liked War Machine. We hated the new edition. Then this next one came out and we like it again. That's really not a surprise to see.
Yes.
Agreed.
We'll leave a pin on that. We'll circle back to that after we go through most of the comments. So Dan Brown says 2 to 3 games a week to nothing in the past month. 11th edition of what shall not be named could also have something to do with it. We're talking about 40K, isn't it? 40K is dropping the new edition this summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, 11th edition just came out, so.
I'm surprised.
The Drew's comment, I have a feeling that's just a complete troll, but I may be wrong. He may be 100% genuine with that one.
He says, I'm surprised people are still playing Kings of War with Old World going strong. And a comment says, strong is a relative term. GW still sucks. Mantic is mildly better from a certain point of view. Right. So I think Old World does attract the people who love Warhammer lore, the old guys. I'm not sure if Old World attract much of new players. Maybe they have some conversion from people who play the computer game, Total War. But I think majority of the people who plays Old World are all the old-time players for nostalgia's sake. You think so?
Yeah, I would say it's a tough game to just get into as like one of your first tabletop war games. And surprisingly, that's how I started back in 7th edition of Fantasy. And I don't recommend that. I think there are better and easier games to get into initially when it comes to tabletop miniature gaming. So, but I did try Old World, just kind of relive some of the nostalgia when it first came out. Played for about 2 weeks, and I realized the things that I didn't enjoy about it all over again, and I was like, all right, well, that was good for now. I'll stop playing that. So Old Worlds seeing big growth with popular releases of Cathay and the new Chaos refresh. I haven't seen the Chaos refresh myself, so
the models are really, really nice. Old World sees play, at least in my area, right? Like there are people playing Old World. Old World is a fine game system. Old World is not really conducive to weeknight open play. It takes time. It's a very granular game. It's very crunchy. It has all the narrative depth that you miss in a streamlined game system, whether it's 3rd edition Kings, 4th edition Kings. Old World is not that and does not have that. So it will attract certain people. And if you want to play like on a Saturday afternoon, I think Old World scratches an itch that is really hard to find without going into historicals. But for pickup games, I'm really not seeing it in the hobby stores. Now, sales numbers, I don't know GW sales numbers, but I'm not seeing it in the stores. Right? I still see AOS, 40K, Kings, War Machine. It doesn't fit the hobby store pickup game vibe that I think.
Because it takes a whole afternoon to play, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's long, it's more complicated. And when I think about a scene, to me, a scene is not like Steve's garage. A scene is a public-facing community. So I don't know if Old World has a thriving scene that I've been able to see locally. It has players and it has sales because the models leave the shelves. But I don't know if it's a scene versus a collection of garage gamers like we 4 play over here, we guys play over here. So some of that, I think it's a different goal.
I think your comparison to historicals is really accurate when it comes to that, because the game itself is very much fits the itch in the niche of the kind of narrative campaign vibe that I get, where, like Paige had mentioned, a lot of people know and love the Total War game, and they want to, kind of live out their own fantasy on a tabletop, just like a lot of historical gamers want to have a replica or relive a historical battle. The fantasy gamers want to do that, and it is a very intense rule set where it's very kind of nitty gritty. If you want to get all the rules exactly right, you're reading a lot while you're playing out of the rule book. It's not really conducive to know just off the top of your head without having tens of potentially even 100 games under your belt before you know exactly what all the interactions are. So I definitely agree that it's not really a pickup game at your local store, kind of like what I think 40K really is, where there are just a ton of players that are playing 40K, and you could go to pretty much any game store and you can get a game of 40K no matter where you are in the country or potentially even in the world. I don't think fantasy is ever going to fit that replica.
Yeah, and I think that's important to clarify early on in this live chat is when I'm talking about a scene, and I think when you guys are talking about building a scene or building a community in today's context, it's a public-facing environment where if I bring models, I'm going to get a game. Like whether I'm scheduling on Discord or we know that on Tuesday nights it's open tables, you can do that with 40K. You can do that with Warhammer Hordes. You can do that with Magic the Gathering. You can do that with Kings. So it's when you're building a scene, that's what I'm talking about, at least when I reference it. If you tell me you want to build an old world community, we're going to probably talk about building an event structure. So it's very different. It's not wrong. It's just different. Like if you told me you wanted to build an old world group, I would really focus on like monthly or quarterly events. With Kings, I'm really focusing on that weekly public facing engagement. So different goals, right?
Absolutely.
Yep. Right. I think the conversation has taken a turn towards GW and Old World. So let's segue into that before coming back to our main topic. But first, hello from sunny Singapore from my partner in crime, Gad. So I'm gonna read off because I upload this as a podcast as well for people who just want to listen in. So we have a comment here from K Paradise. Old World has seen big growth with the popular release of Cathay and now the Chaos refresh. George LaFoon says, I tried Old World at the end of third of Kings of War, I guess, a few times to meet new players. That's about as far as that went for me. Maybe we should talk to the Old World players. Luke Frazier said, I was floored by the price of the new kit for Old World. Those new Marauders are over 100 Canadian dollars for 20. Yes, it is. It's about $100, close to 100 US dollars, I guess, for 20 models. So it's about $5 per infantry model. That's infantry. So whatever box it is about $100. $100. If it's a unit of Cav, it's also about $100. Yeah. So Vermin9190 says once GW does something dumb again, or people burn out of the old world, people will shift back to Kings of War or Mantic. Games need to work on their pricing because, my God, they're getting to GW prices. Before I continue, I hear some typing sounds. I'm not sure if it's Carl or
probably
Adam.
Me. My bad.
Yep, do mute up when you're typing. All right, so let's talk about the prices. So firstly, I do agree that Mantic's prices are creeping upwards, but it's still, I thought it was getting close to GW, but GW just shifted the goalpost and increased their prices way much as well. So Mantic are getting close to old GW prices. So a box of 20 guys from Mantic is about $60 in Singapore currency. That's close to Australian dollars as well. And yeah, so it's about 60% of old world prices. So it's still almost half price of old. That, yeah, it doesn't feel cheap anymore. That's for sure for Mantic. And yeah, perhaps old world may sort of blow up and people come back. God says old world has just released Battle March, their version of Ambush Champions. In my Vermin 9190 says, in my previous area and my new area that I moved to, I noticed no one playing Old World. And God says again, same here. Old World players locally play more at home and are the older players from Fantasy. Had a local guy promise not to bring a broken list to try to get a game in. One of our Kings of War players, he is concurrently playing Old World, or at least a little bit dabbling in Old World, but he has said that the rules are pretty badly written, like back in Fantasy days, full of discrepancies needing for clarifications and all, which is surprising because I thought that the GW has been better with rules writing. I think their 40k rules are cleaner. I have not read them. Their Q team rules are very clean. I've played a bit of Q team in the past 2 years, I think. And the rules are very clean. It is very wordy though. It's like written like a lawyer's document. So it's very boring to read through, but it defines everything very clearly. So there's no room for misinterpretation. So I think the old world rules people must be different, that the rules are pretty bad. So there is a chance that people get fed up and then we can sweep in as a safe haven of Kings of War, which also leads to the next thing I want to talk about, which is one of the comments I've read is that we have an influx of new players when End Times happened, right? And that is about 10 years ago already. And since End Times, we haven't had a big influx of new players, and that's probably a problem of a small miniatures company, a game from a small miniatures company, because let's face it, anything outside of GW doesn't get much publicity and eyeballs. Like every game store has GW, but only a handful of them have Mantic. So it's just even hard to get the word of Mantic out there. But moving on, let me just scroll through the rest of the comments before on this Facebook post before we go into deeper discussion. Right. So one person said, drop out fourth. There's life getting in the way. But I'm not excited about fourth to paint that many models up. Okay, and this is another thing. The biggest hurdle for me is the fact that majority of my new armies are now unplayable with the new battalion list building. So a lot of lists are invalidated. And most of the time when your list is invalidated, you have to put more core units. And core units are mostly infantry. So you have to paint up units and units of infantry. So this person continues, I'm just not excited enough about fourth to paint that many models up. Yep. Bruno, I think he's from France. I played him at Clash of Kings UK. He said UK scene for 2026 is 150 strong, was 350 at the end of 2025. French tournament scene is 60 strong, was 100 at the end of 2025. Years not finished and numbers will still rise for 2026, but probably won't get to last year's numbers. I expect a 30 to 40% drop. So that's some numerical figures. It went downhill with fourth. I think this Casper is Polish. The game is good and it needs more tweaking with armies. I think UK wise, Matt says UK wise, there's a drop in number of tournaments being run. Okay, it takes time to build up again. So I've counted. The last time I count out of 39 comments, only 6 were positive. So the remaining were negative. So that's about the state we are right now. It's just some grim realities, so to speak.
Yeah, and I'll throw a little something out there too. I was actually before Masters, I was actually doing a little bit of research into the events that that we run, my group and I run, as well as a couple other people that I know, like Mark Cox with Lone Wolf and things like that. And as far as some of the major tournaments, I would say, at least in the central part of the United States, we definitely saw a downtick in attendance from events that are at least 3 years running. So, like Adepticon, we went from 50 last year to 34 this year. Bug Eater, we went from, again, 50 last year to 40 this year. I know Lone Wolf, I think, actually saw a slight uptick, but they had a pretty low attendance last year, and I think he ended up with high 50s this year. So I think he was at low 50s last year into the high 50s this year. But 2 years before that, I think he was like at 80. So there's definitely some fluctuation with this, but just from the major events that I typically attend, I'm seeing roughly like on average about a 10 to 20% downturn in attendance. Kyle, what are you seeing kind of towards your and the region? I know a lot of the events you guys are doing are actually newer events within the last year, aren't they?
Yeah, well, it depends on what you're looking at, right? If you're looking at the grand scheme of like the Midwest, Northeast stuff, we're seeing sort of a mixed bag in attendance between growing and shrinking. Some of that has to do with, you've been TOing for 10 years and community age outright. You have the void age, the late 30s to mid 40s, where people sort of fade away from the hobby and go into travel sports and 2 kids in high school. And there's the middle age curse that hits all wargaming communities pretty hard. And Kings is primed to be in that window, and we are seeing that, myself included. And new events, any place that I'm seeing locally here or internationally, someone promoting new events, they're exploding. So is it hype? Is it you're putting in the effort to recruit because it's new and that makes a difference? Is it, you're partnering with a store that's promoting? So not only are our new events doing incredibly well, but new events all over seem to be doing well. And like anything, you've got your rise, you've got your fall. Some events are dying locally too, and it's not necessarily that those are leaving the scene. It's that they're either changing or being absorbed. Things like Michigan GT, that doesn't exist through no fault of the TO Blake. The event that hosted it is gone, which is where the Ohio GT is coming in. We saw a void in the calendar, and we're going to create something in that space. But in order for our event to have space, that event had to not exist. You can't have 38 events in a calendar year and expect everything to work. But I'd say you could probably do an event every 2 weeks within your region or a sister region pretty consistently in the United States. Not a huge one, but I'd say at this point, there's probably at least 2 events a month. I know some of our guys probably traveled at 1 to 2 events a month. So, and if you include one days, we're doing a lot. So the stuff is there if you put the effort in, and if it's not on your schedule, there's your answer: run an event.
Right. I've got a few questions to ask our 2 guests here. First question would be, is the Mantic products present in game stores in your area? Is it, and in US in general, is Mantic products being carried by the game stores?
Yeah, they're pricey, but they're not as pricey as GW. They're in the stores. If you don't have someone pushing that product or moving that product, it's not going to sell like anything else. And when I'm seeing Mantic models on the table, it more often than not, it's actually Bolt, just because Kings is such an expensive, mass armies are expensive, whether it's Kings, historical, old world, doesn't matter. You need a ton of stuff. And with the Vault, our store specifically is a licensed brick and mortar 3D printing rep for Mantic. So I can go get like officially licensed Mantic Vault printed on commission. Eric Trowbridge has armies, and he just goes, "Hey, store, print me my stuff. Here's money. Give me my models back next week." But it's nice. I can just walk across the store and grab like a pawn warden if I need a pawn warden. I just go over and grab it. It's taken care of. That doesn't exist everywhere. It's not always the best answer. It may not be the best answer for a store, right? I know inventory management is incredibly expensive, but it does exist. It is there, and I think it's important to a very, very small degree. That's why I liked the ambush boxes back when they existed. It was very, very easy to like politely bully a store manager to get 5 ambush boxes and say, put them over there, sell them to D&D players, worst comes to worst. Right? So it's there, but they're in our stores. Yeah, every of the major stores that I'm in has it, with the exception of one locally, has at least some Mantic products, and Halo's everywhere, right? Halo exists in saturation levels untold.
Is Halo popular in your region?
Halo's popular in America, brother.
That is true. That Halo is the one Mantic
Halo is
product.
Mantic.
Yeah. Halo is the one Mantic product that the store that we game out of carries. They used to, or they had carried some of the older Mantic products back towards like end of second, early third, but it really just didn't move off the shelf. So there were a couple things that got bought up out of the army boxes that they purchased, but the rest of it kind of got either discounted and then bought off cheaply for for price support, or it was donated for price support at some point. So I don't know. I'm not as great with product and trying to get product in store. Me personally, I don't really care one way or another. I know a lot of people have different views on that, but armies that I've purchased in the past, I've done 2 Mantic armies, and when I'm ready to buy those, I usually just put it in order with the store, or find a good distributor online with good pricing to buy it through.
Yeah.
So
to be crystal clear, having a store support Mantic products on the shelf is absolutely not relevant to growing a scene. If the to stay on track for the episode, if we didn't sell a single Mantic product in that store, we would still be able to grow a scene with 3D printing vaults, buying stuff on Amazon. There's tons of like American-based online retailers that sell Mantic products. And half the time, the store doesn't have the exact model I want anyway, so I'm just walking up to the counter and placing an order anyways. Or I buy it from Mantic.com, hit the free shipping metric, and you're good to go. So you do not need a store that even cares about Mantic to grow a scene. You need a store that will give you space to play games that people are having fun. And that is the first step. But you do need a store. It's hard to grow a scene in like Bob's basement.
Yeah, but what incentivizes the store to support the game if there aren't products being sold for it? That would be my question, because my local game store, the owner is one of our Kings of War players, but the truth is Kings of War is not bringing in the money. So in Singapore, space is a premium. Gaming tables are a scarce resource. So it's as much as I want to support the game, but if it's not bringing revenue, the store has to prioritize other game systems that are bringing the store revenue. And for Mantic, we still have 20 factions, right? We are down from 28, but 20 factions is still a lot for a game that's not very popular. When they bring in a new faction, whether it's Forces of Nature as recently or even Trident Realms in the past, sure, one new player will jump into Trident Realm. Another Trident Realm player might add on a little bit to the collection, and then another Trident Realm player would have already all the things he wanted, and then that's it. That's all you're gonna sell for a new faction.
I'll hit you with 2 things, because it matters, but it doesn't. But it does. If you want to just use game store versus game store or company versus company, You know how many dusty boxes of Middle Earth Strategy Battle I've picked up on clearance for price support, or even old world stuff that's just sat and sat and sat? Because it's much like our game. Once you own your collection or you own your army, there's not a drive to buy more. We don't see meta changes like we do in skirmish games. You own your army, you move on to the next one, and typically you're going, I want to place an order for this. I'm done. If it's specifically a store saying, I don't want to give you the space because you're not bringing in revenue, there's usually a couple of things. One, if you're there consistently having fun, creating a good environment, that is incredibly valuable to a store, from community growth, from inviting other players in, not just for Kings, or just for 40K or whatever. Having a active scene regularly there on a specific day of the week is good for the store. We spend enough money on disposables and sundries and events within the store to offset any sort of like, I didn't get to sell a 40K combat control box on a Monday night to one extra table of guys. And we work with the store very specifically to say, what is our space? What is our allotment? What are the rules we need to play within? Good. And we did not start out having 3 tables on permanent reservation page. You have to build up to that point. And we work with them for events. And we did not originally have like, hey, you get this many events a year. You know, you have to earn all those things. It's a relationship. If you just expect the store to support you from the get-go and offer nothing back, you're not going to get very far. You don't need to be a Pathfinder. You need to be a person who understands that they're trying to run a business and you're trying to find a place to hang out, and mutually they can have the same goal. And our goal has been from the beginning not to sell models. We want to create a place where people want to go. And you know how many times I've had to buy bricks of dice because I leave my dice at home after I get there from work? Like, I own a lot of bricks of dice that I don't need, because it's cheaper to buy a brick than to be late when my friends are waiting on me. And our caffeine consumption is not small. And then what are you doing? You're seeing other games. You're buying other models too. So the community building, it's always hard to fight on the internet. And I'm just going to harp on that because I know that's the theme of the episode. It's not just Kings. You know, I haven't helped build a Kings community. I have, but I've built a gaming community that has a lot of active Kings players. But we play Mordheim, Old World, 40K, Kill Team. I'm trying to play Gorka Morka. Everyone else just has too high standards for that. We play Halo, Firefight, Epic Warpath, Magic the Gathering against my will. You create a community of gamers, and then each person naturally finds their, I'm casual here, competitive here, committed here, I want to be a community leader over here. But if your only goal is to build, if you're watching this to learn how do I build a Kings of War community and nothing else matters, I'm going to be very little help to you. My advice is play game, have fun in public, and hope for the best. If you want to build a community of gamers, find a store, work with the store, understand that people play more than one game and they scratch more than one itch, and they play them at more than one level and more than one intention, and do all of that with the intention of having fun. And then naturally it will develop into competitive scenes, regular scenes, random pickup games, good relationships with the store, and you start contaminating multiple stores. You give the other stores the bad touch, and you keep going, which is sort of the phase we're stepping into now. But yeah, I understand your point, Paige, but if you just have grown-up conversations with grown-ups, you'd be shocked how far things go.
Yeah, I guess Adam, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'll just jump in and kind of put a cap on some of these things too, where I do agree with Kyle, one, because he has the track record to prove it, and two, because I think he just makes a lot of sense. But I do think that there should be a clear line of what is expected out of the community aspect, and drawing that line between the company itself. So I don't think as a community or as a community leader, your goal, or you should even be really considering where your players get their models. Like if they're asking you for help, yeah, you should explain to them how you've gone about it, sure. But I do think that it's Mantic's job and it's the game store's job to kind of sell products, but it's our job or the community leader's job to uh, have enjoyable weekends, right? Weekdays, enjoyable gaming sessions, right? And I think if you start mixing, if you are incentivized to sell something to your friends, essentially at that point, that's when I think it gets a little messy from a community point. At least I would imagine so. Not that I have any experience with that personally, but
yeah, the farthest I've gone down that path is to talk with the store owner of, because I'm also a Pathfinder, and it's, hey, when I'm doing demos, is there a specific demo that you want? Do you want this game or this game? Do you want a rotation of demos? Do you want multiple? And the game store was very blunt. They were like, hey, we would like to see this pushed from a product standpoint for the demo, but it was unrelated to game night, community game night, what the players are buying. The only real thing that I worked with the game store on, what do you want to see, Mr. Store, from a play, was we sort of structure the demo based on the product that they'd like to see moved. But there's no like, hey, you guys should really play more Warpath and you should buy more Warpath here. It's Mantic Mondays, play what you want to play. Figure it out. But yeah, I'm not sitting there telling people you better buy from the store, man. Buy a Mountain Dew at the store. Don't bring your own Mountain Dew in. Don't be that guy. Just go buy it from the cooler. It's the same price as the gas station. But yeah, I don't care where you get your models. I care that you show up and play and are like a good person.
Yeah,
that's it.
I'm not sure if experience of priorities vary between US and Singapore, where I'm from. I'm not sure if game stores usually have lots of space there in the US. For Singapore, space is a premium. So for the game store, like almost every night is a something night for a certain game system. So that's why Kings of War, we have alternate Tuesdays, because the other alternate Tuesday is War Machine night. So we have to alternate between War Machine and there are 5 gaming tables. Only 4 of them are 6x4. One of it is 4x4. So 4 gaming tables suitable for Kings of War. And for the Kings of War night, 2 tables are reserved for Kings of War. So there's still
That's
2
a great start.
Tables for open booking for people to book and play whatever games they want for the public, right? So yeah, it's a great spot to be in, and hopefully we can grow from there. Let's go to the comments. There's quite a lot of comments adding up. Horde of Things says the new Horde bundles from Mantic are a good deal. Basically 2 infantry boxes for the price of 1.5. One thing that I have a gripe with is it's a web store exclusive, so the game stores don't get this deal. So I hope that if Mantic has, at least part of its goal is to incentivize game stores to sell their product, stop putting out these web exclusive bundles, because people will want to buy from the web bundles instead of the game store. God says we have to be patient. I feel the new players in 4th needs time to get their armies built and painted. K Paradise says, you know what has better rules than Kill Team? Dead Zone.
That's true.
Which is now more popular in the form of Halo, right? I never got into Halo. I've only played Halo Combat Evolved as the video game, and so I'm not that into Halo lore. So I just don't get the models. Like, oh, what's this? What's the? I don't remember the big guys, brutes or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what they are.
They're called brutes.
Well, it's a great time to be a Halo Combat Evolved enjoyer, because they just came out with the remake, and seems like it's pretty good. I have the OG on an original Xbox. So I haven't bought the new one, but
Yeah, I don't have gaming consoles now, so I can't play that. My computer is not graphics cards equipped to. It's all work computers, so I can't play them. Dead Zone, we've tried to play it last year or the year before, again, even as Halo was coming out. But I think Dead Zone does have some flaws. Some models, the big guys are really hard to take out. So if your list is not built to take them out, sometimes you just get steamrolled over. So that is more of a balance issue. But I think because the game is not on Mantic's radar as much, they haven't put much effort into balancing that game as much.
It has some struggle, but if you play it a lot, the sort of triangle between high units plays the mission, big scary thing does kill, and I play kill is a really neat triangle. But you really do need to have a pretty diverse gaming group for that to be apparent. What usually happens is two guys play Dead Zone, and you have the arms race of, well, now that you've got that, I need this. When you get like 6 people playing it pretty regularly, I think it does play well. But in a small group, I will say Dead Zone is probably going to be a tough one to build a community on. Halo doesn't have that problem. So yeah, I agree with you. If it's like me and just Dan from Memphis playing Dead Zone, we're just in an arms race between who has the counter this week. And it's a very different world than open gaming with like 6 or 8 people playing it.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if this problem has been fixed in Halo, but melee combat, like no matter whose turn it is moving into combat, the units get to fight each other. So if you're that's
Halo's only defending. You can only defend in Halo.
So in Dead Zone, even though Carl moved his unit into my space, I can choose to fight back, and whoever rolls better will deal the combat damage. So if I'm a strong melee guy, there's no way you can beat me. So the melee monster just chomps everything, and it cannot be stopped. But I guess it's fixed in Halo. So I played GCPS, which is a bunch of cheap bodies, right? They are like extra militarium, so they just get chomped up very easily. All right, let's move on to the comments. God says this year Clash UK has 150 players signed up. Last year was 200. Josh Lafun said, I would also say at my local game store, Sigma players are down, and so are all the other gaming groups. Interesting observation. But I agree that GW has gotten much better at rules writing for their mainline games. This is from K Parodies. Their specialist games tend to be less legalistic and rely more on player cooperation. Josh says, I think people are working more or different hours and can't afford to come out for games nights like they seemed to a few years ago. Definitely, the economy also plays a part. If people are struggling to make ends meet, they have less time for gaming. Josh also says, I lost a few Kings players to Halo. My Halo scene is growing every week. So is our local Halo scene. We have a very strong Halo Pathfinder who's pushing the game as well. Only Mantic products I see in Florida are Halo. Josh, took me 3 years running a Kings GT and bi-weekly Kings of War nights to convince my store to stock Kings, and it still took Halo to convince them. God says, if your store can carry Halo, they can carry some Kings of War, but it's always a challenge. It could be on a special order, right? So you ask your game store to put it on their next Mantic order, which is what our game store is currently doing. They bring in very limited Kings of War products. Jason Burr says, let's be honest, Carl bullies everyone he talks to.
Bully into friendship.
What are you talking about? Bully into friendship.
That's Jason Burr. But I mean, there's something to it. But the other thing you've talked about in here, it's come up a few times, Paige. So I'm going to hijack your comment thread. Many of these people have talked about, I've lost this player to here. I've lost this player to here. I don't remember if you used bad words, so I'm not going to. You haven't lost anything if you structure your group around being a gaming community. You have the same number of players playing something they have fun with, probably infecting outsiders to then join said community. If you're insular, and I'll use a different game than Kings, this club all I care about is playing Halo. You're going to have a bad time when one of your Halo guys discovers that he likes Warma Horde more. I'm going to play that like super granular competitive skirmish game versus Halo, and it's a loss. If you say we're a gaming community and my club, Kings, is a big focus of our club. It's the monster game that we play, and then everything else filter feeds around it. But if we only played Kings and we only cared about Kings and we only wanted to support Kings for events and we only showed up for Kings, so it'd be like an 8-person community. We're selling out one days in under 2 hours, like 14 to 16 people in sub 2 hours, fully sold out. Many of the people at those one days are never at an open pickup game. They're showing up for the event because we put it out there and said, hey guys, do you want to come play? And when they throw it out, hey, I'm having a kill team event. Do you guys want to come play? We're showing up. It's in the same community. We're the same Discord at the same store with the same people. There's people in that chat I've never met that I talk to every week because I want to be there to support their stuff inside our community. So if you're building yourself as a community, you're not losing them because they switch to a different game system. You're just supporting them finding something that they're actively having a lot of fun in. And if they're out there having fun in public, they are going to be growing your scene. The end goal here for me is always, how can I get 30, 40, 50 people in my gaming community so that I never have to worry about it? Let's say 3 years from now, Kings of War explodes. It's done. Mantic goes out of business. We never played again. It went end times. Great. There's still 40 or 50 people in the gaming club. We just go play 40K or Warma Hordes, or maybe Kings dies, but Epic Warpath stays on. Great. It's still there. We're still set. So not only am I insulating myself and my time against any one company, GW, Mantic, Privateer Press, but you never have to have the mentality of, I lost a player today. You know, Steve is dead to me. He's left everything for 40K. Great. All Steve did was he started typing a lot more in this Discord chat room instead of this Discord chat room in the same community. And we're still at the same store. We're still friends. We're still on the same hobby page. It's a mentality thing. But if you look at someone not playing the primary game system you play anymore as a loss, that's not a growth mentality. And you are going to struggle to see, success, at least in your own eye, like in your own head, right? You're going to struggle to see those numbers. I just look at it as, are we still playing in the store? Great. We're still part of the same community. Let's go have fun. And then when I have a one day, maybe you come back and hang out with us.
Right. For myself, I do dabble in many other game systems. So when I go down to a local game store, there's always people that I say hi to. They may or may not have played Kings of War before, or they may have played Q Team when I dabbled in it. So I got to know him from Q Team, 40K, War Machine, whatever it is. I say hi to them. Definitely, if you think of it as a whole wargaming community in general, it is a win and no net loss if they move to other game systems. But yeah, I think locally my game store doesn't have that much of a problem with that because between all the game systems, the community for the game store is pretty large. Yeah, but we do also have to worry about, hey, if nobody's turning up to play Kings of War, I can't get my games in. Yeah, I get what you mean, Kyle. Yeah, if it's if you are just thinking about the community, and there is a chance that he might come back to Kings at some point, right? So, we can also.
It's all within reason, right? Like I'm not gonna just not play Kings because the guys want to play 40K. But if you're not supporting their events, there's no incentive for them to support yours. And if you're doing it all collectively with a shared calendar and a shared schedule and shared goals of growing, you'll be shocked, or you won't be, Paige. I know you do this, but it's really, really fun when somebody who's only ever played Age of Sigmar shows up with blank bases and sticky tack and an Age of Sigmar army. And they're like, all right, I'm going to see how rats work at this one day fun event. Let's go. Because you were there for them.
I'm going to jump into this comment. In all seriousness, Kyle has done such a great job with his community. With the best part about them is that the people he has brought in are so much fun to talk to and energized about gaming and Kings of War.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. And Jason Bird does a disservice to me. He says I did it. Again, I did not. I found a little cluster of people that adopted me, and I became their raging extrovert. But I have no organizational skills. Sam Kula takes care of that. I don't understand how to read. Sam Moore takes care of that. Like, I can read, that's a joke, but they're inside the little community that adopted me against their will. I've been able to flourish in my niche, and we run it as a group. So I get maybe more credit than I should because I'm the loud vocal face, but you cannot do what I have done alone. I've put a lot of work in, but there's other human beings in the background or not the background that are just quieter than me. So.
And it's not just the reading; it's actually the spelling that's Kyle's biggest issue. We all know this.
You're better at English than me, Paige, and that's not sarcasm. That is, I've read your messages. You are better at English than me.
All right, God says Halo is growing quite well locally. They easily can have 10 people every week for the games day. Luke Fraser, a question for Kyle. In your experience, is the Mantic product on the shelf an important part of the growth you're seeing? I was always split on whether to promote the game within the IP or not.
Oh, that's Luke Schaefer. No, Luke. So I'll address you.
Luke, Fraser.
Luke Fraser, yeah.
Canadian.
If your goal is to grow a scene, you could grow a gaming scene inside a public library if you had the space with community engagement and eyes on the table every week and a consistent schedule. If the store stocks the product, they're much more likely to support you with less hassle. So I think it's easier. I'll use the game store in Memphis, right? War Room Hobbies had Kings everywhere. They were gung-ho to support Kings in any capacity. Dragon's Lair in Columbus has Kings on the shelf. They love when we do Kings of War stuff or Warpath stuff or Halo stuff. It is a boon, but it is certainly not a problem. And like Adam talked about earlier, don't equate growing a group of guys having fun with having access to the IP and supporting the store in that specific capacity. The store should be able to identify the needs of the gamers, provide the pieces. Mantic should identify the needs of the store and make that available. And if you want to show up with AOS models blue tacked to MDF squares to try the game out, fantastic. And if that's all your store is selling, get in there, get experienced, and then almost everyone I play with eventually transitions to owning at least one or two Mantic armies. It's just the natural state of things. You find the army you like, you build the models. You also find the army you can't stand the models for, and you don't buy them. My BCB army was not Mantic Elves. I own Mantic Elves. They're still in the storage unit, and I'm not trying to find them. I did another one. But my Ogre army is all Mantic because I think they're fantastic. And I was able to pick those up at a local store and support that store over time. But yeah, I don't care if they're on the store. You shouldn't care if they're on the shelf, Luke. If you get results, they will support you. Don't wait for it to be the other way.
Right. Okay, moving on. God says, Paige, same issue as our Penang friends. They're from Malaysia. They don't have a store to play as their store are GW focused, so growth is stagnant. Jason Burr says, if a store giving people gaming space, it incentivizes us to buy hobby material or even other models if we need them from said store.
God so you had a player with no. Oh, sorry, Paige. Go ahead.
No worries. You go ahead. I'm just reading through the comments.
So you brought up a few times that player just said we don't have space. That's awesome. I wish you had a game store that supported you. If you don't have a game store, you know who loves middle-aged people with disposable income? Bars. There's several bars here locally we've already talked about if we ever have issues with game space at the store. They've talked about opening up their venue on a bi-weekly basis or a once-a-month basis of open wargaming night. You guys get the patio. There's a 1 drink minimum or a cover charge to come in and go to town. Obviously, there's some legal concerns based on your country, and I don't want to pretend to advise you to have 16-year-olds walk into a bar to play war games. But the only rule is it needs to be something the public can see. People having fun playing games. That's the simplest answer. So if you can't find a friendly local game store, or you don't live where there is one, there are other areas of public access that have tables, that have space, that would love your business. If you're playing war games, typically you are a demographic that has at least a margin of disposable income, and you can support the venue that you're in financially while you're doing it. So don't get discouraged, just get creative.
Right. That's an idea. Space is a premium in Singapore. Bars, rentals are expensive, but I could foresee on a Monday or Tuesday night where they have very little customers, they might be open to, hey, let's clear up some space. Maybe we put some of our bar tables together, join up into 2 6x4 tables, or we supply the foldable tables to set up 1 or 2 tables where our community can go over. 4 players are playing. A few others are crowding around drinking and chatting about the game. That is possible.
The store in college, all we did was I went to the bar and said, what's your least profitable night? Can we play D&D on that night? And they gave it to us. Every person had to spend at least $5. That was all they needed to make the space profitable, because it was wasted. We said, what's your slowest day? And they gave us that room for 3 years, Paige. We played D&D every single week for 3 years in that room.
Wow. Which night is the least profitable night?
For that bar, it was Tuesday.
For some reason, Monday night tends to be pretty consistent for a lot of places and hobbies. I used to teach dance, and my dance studio have dance classes on weeknights and weekends, right? And surprisingly, Monday and Friday nights are the most popular nights for classes, because most people do not plan to hang out with their friend on Monday nights. Or when I say hang out, randomly go out to some activity, watch a movie or whatnot. So you usually don't ask a friend out on a random Monday night. So that's where Mondays becomes very consistent for you to have a weekly thing going on, whether it's dance classes, game night, whatever night. So Monday night is surprisingly quite a consistent night for people. Yep, God says the website exclusive is annoying. Yes. Okay, I think Vermin9190 is referring to the Halo remake. The remake has bugs, constant crashes, and rewriting of the story is pretty bad. Oh dear. Okay, it's hard to get people I know in my area into Halo. It's the same complaint for price for minis. They love the rules, but it's the price. But Josh Laffoon chimed in with, Halo fans in my area don't care about the crazy price. I have 5 people who buy 2 of every box. Sometimes I feel the barrier of entry to miniature gaming is high, but after that, it's pretty low to maintain, because you're just going to buy a new release every now and then. So in the grand scheme of things, cost-wise, it can be pretty affordable as a hobby compared to certain other hobbies. So like golf, for example, you have to buy very expensive clubs, and then golf clubs, and then you have to, I think to book the course to play is very expensive. Whatever other hobbies you can think of, some of them have a very high monthly commitment of funds. Okay, we read that already. Josh says they are what's he referring to? They're gone in the King's community through Kyle. I still play with these guys. Oh, they're gone in the King's community though, Kyle. I still play games with these people, but they don't interact with Kings anymore. Yeah, but then as long as you have a window open to them, they might see the next thing that might interest them back into Kings. Hopefully, right? Like the change of an edition, which I would like to come to later after I read through the comments, which is why isn't Kings of War 4th edition attracting more players than it is? All right. Oh, we have a new user in chat, Chris Termihalos. Legends on the screen, Carl and the Sams. What's he talking about? Adam and Paige, I appreciate the knowledge you've shared. Many thanks. Caffeinated Warlord, the club near me is successful because, as Carl says, they just focus on the war gamers having a good time and support anything and everything. K Paradise says, Kyle, do you have any advice for community building where the only local group is heavily focused on Warhammer GW games? It's my only hope of eventually playing Kings buying a full 40k army.
Do you want me to tackle that one real quick and see if you agree or disagree? And Adam might be one of the better ones to co-tackle that. But if so now you're the outsider looking into the club, the first thing I would do is show up on a game night when they're playing 40k and socialize. Whether you like 40k or not is irrelevant to this piece. Just socialize. Make sure you like the community, like the group, and it's a group you want to engage with. So assuming you do want to be a part of this community, talk to them a little bit, see what's going on. And then my favorite question ever is, can you teach me this game? Yes. Do you have models I can borrow? I assure you the answer at any store I've ever been to anywhere in this nation is yes. 40k, Kings, AOS, Worma Hordes. I've got models, brother. What do you want? Most stores are doing some sort of narrative league. They're doing some sort of slow grow. Very rarely is a store just tournament prep, go and play. There's open play, casual play, soft play. If you're the minority trying to get into a community, you need to follow that community's sort of standards. And usually what happens is I hang out with you guys for a little bit. I have fun. It's how I got Eric Trowbridge and that group. I played 40k for a while. I borrowed some models, tried some different things, did a little bit, and then I went, hey, man, I play Kings of War. Do you want to try that? Put it on the table. We did that game night just to take a break. I don't think he's touched 40K in like a decade until very recently. I found what was having fun, found the group within that I had the most fun with, then showed them what I did to have fun. And without ever leaving that group, I created the game that I wanted to play and just sort of played both. And then eventually we found the one that we liked more, which ended up being Kings, and we went that direction. It could have just as easily become that we both decided 40K was better and went that direction, and that would be a perfectly acceptable answer. But if you as a person want to play Kings and you have a scene around you that doesn't want to play Kings, it's probably because they haven't. You need to give them an opportunity to try it. And the only way to do that is reciprocating. Generally, I play your game, you play my game. And I always pitch it the same way. Do you want to try something different this week? Just take a quick refresher, quick break. Show them fantasy. Have a blast. Now, it might require you to own 2 fantasy armies. There's a little bit of leg room or risk there. Not everybody has a fantasy army sitting on the shelf ready to go. But that's my opinion on being the outsider.
Agreed. And I'll jump in. I do think that Kyle's right in there. It sounds like, I mean, that group you're talking about, it definitely sounds like you're talking from the outside looking in, where Kyle is ultimately suggesting you just need to be a part of the group. They just need to be your friends, which is essentially what, a bunch of the guys that are playing Kings of War with me right now in Omaha, we were friends long before we played Kings of War in general. I got introduced to tabletop war games because I was friends with Travis for years before that. It wasn't until he said, hey, you want to play this with me? Like, we enjoyed playing, video games and board games and stuff together. And then he introduced me to tabletop games. So I think it's friendships that lead to, the games that you're enjoying at the moment. And realistically, if you have good friendships and you're enjoying something, people that you're good friends with are going to want to have that enjoyment with you in one way or another. And you know what? Sometimes good friends are also going to be able to tell you, hey, I'm not really digging this. So, like, I'll play with you, but I'm not enjoying it as much as you are. And you have those conversations. But I think that, these communities, they really just need to be a group of friends, because in the end, that's one of the best things that can ever happen is if you end up going to events later down the road and you're doing road trips and you're staying in hotels or an Airbnb with a group of guys. You don't want to do that with people that you're uncomfortable with. You want to do it with some people that you're close with and that you enjoy spending time with. So ultimately, we just need to build group communities of friendships at this point, and then we'll worry about what game we're playing, in a couple months after that, right? So
Yeah, I'll add in my experience, which is our hobby is really niche, right? So I'm the only one among my I'll say natural friends, right? Friends that I made through school and other parts of life. I'm the only one that plays war games. So the other war games friends are made through the community that I'm in or the game store that I play in. So there's also that. I could try to introduce more games to my friends, but I think most of them are not interested. I do have some board gaming friends that I've tried to pitch to. They are not interested. I have one board gaming friend who went from competitive board games to cooperative ones because he's at that age. I don't want to compete against my friends. Let's play together and win against the game together. And then one of them went on to RPGs, so he find the interactive storytelling element really fun. So he concocts very interesting stories and have fun through that. So wargaming definitely is quite a niche of a hobby. Yeah, with that, I see a few more comments. We're gonna go through that, which will reach to something that I would like to talk about. So God says, might be a local thing, but lighting in bars are horrible. So we might have to provide lights too if we're playing in the dark bar. Jason Burr says breweries also usually have lots of big tables and encourage board games and would be more inclined to allow tabletop games. Chris says, do you think let me skip onto this first. Caffeinated Warlock, so wholesome, just giving advice on how adults make friends.
Yep.
And I'll come back to this one, which I'd like to talk about more. Do you think new edition drain the mental energy of veterans and from there make it difficult for veterans to bring new people in? I feel like the update for 3.5 was much easier to handle. So I would like to start off from this comment leading into a discussion of, sort of what went wrong for 4th edition. Why did it not launch with as much fanfare and excitement and influx of new players as it should be? So let's riff on this topic. So anyone like to start first by answering Chris's comment directly?
I'd love to jump in real quick. Try not to drag it out too long. I know I've talked about some of my gripes with the edition, but in my opinion, from my personal experience, I think that one of the major things that a new edition needs is hype. You need people that are excited to play the game. And if you have people that are excited to play the game, they're going to talk to their friends about playing the game, and you're going to get people to play. Right? Whether that leads to a longevity of play is a different aspect of that whole thing. But I think you need an initial jumpstart, an initial buy-in for the edition, or whatever change is happening. And for me personally, that just was never there for 4th edition. I think a big thing that contributed to that, again, for my personal experience, was that I was a play tester. I had a lot of kind of behind the scenes knowledge of things that were being done and the path that was going down, and a lot of behind the scenes knowledge of discussions of what could have been with 4th edition. And knowing what could have been and what we got, I was not excited. I didn't have that spark, that jump start. I didn't, I wasn't going and talking to all my friends saying, we gotta give this a try. I'm so excited to play this. So I think that's where fourth has fallen short for me personally, is we just didn't have a great initial launch, and now it's all playing catch up from there. So
do you think there are many in the same situation as you? Because your situation is semi-unique in that you are a playtester. Were there a lot of playtesters?
There was some. I don't know if there was as many that were as involved as I was at the time. There's probably, old RC group was probably much more involved than I was even. So I'm sure there's various degrees, but I mean, I think, I was also somewhat vocal, at least to people that I talked to in person, about my dissatisfaction, which definitely doesn't help the cause. So I knew this, several months before it released, and I think that, at least for veteran players that were at tournaments that I had conversations with, I think I kind of curbed some of their enthusiasm or lowered their expectations of fourth a little bit. But I don't know. I think, Kyle, you were kind of in the same vein where you had some playtesting knowledge as well, if I'm not mistaken. Was it similar for you?
Yeah, kind of. I'm also probably more of an optimist than you in most day-to-day existence, Adam. Fourth for me had three issues, and I think they're three fundamental game launches, whether it's a Kickstarter, whether it's Kings, whatever. Adam hit it on the head. You need hype. Not only do you need community people doing hype, you need internet hype, you need media hype, you need owners of the company doing hype, traveling to cons, pushing this product nonstop. Fourth, in my opinion, suffered in the shadow of Halo. We didn't have Adepticon pushing Mantic 4th edition Kings of War. We didn't have Gen Con shoving, here's 4th edition with 3 demo tables and a prep table over here and company released battle reports coming from Mantic HQ. So from a company standpoint, I fully believe that we suffered in the shadow of Halo, going to conventions and selling products. Halo is more than half the booth. The demo tables are Halo. Is that bad? No, Halo is huge, right? I, as a business owner, I'm in my office right now. When this call's done, I'm going back to work before I go to bed tonight. I understand you have to eat, right? You got to make money. So the hype factor, I gave 4th edition like a 0 out of 10. Cleanliness of rollout, it is not a convenient time to be an international company logistically. I think we could have pivoted to more of a digital first rollout to avoid some of these problems, and we did not. So there were some issues with the actual launch and rollout that hurt. And then here's the really big one. Edition changes live and die with the veterans first, and then the new people based on the hype. In a launch without the hype, you're relying on the veterans. And we had a questionable launch on a game that was a very drastic change, at least in principle. In reality, there are some changes, some big, some small, some dramatic, some not. And after playing close to 100 games, I'm there with it. But we saw a shift from 3.5, which I would consider very close to my idealized strategy war game. It is at a balance point, casually and competitive. There's a skill ceiling that's clearly identifiable and a skill floor that's pretty clearly defined. And we took a very, at the simplest answer, we took a risk. I'm not Mantic. Mantic took a risk jumping from 3.5 to 4 with some drastic changes to fundamental ideas that have been around for a while. And I'll use my good friend Eric as an example. He did not like the change. Over time, seeing the play, seeing the joy, seeing the fun we were having and asking players and talking to them about it, the passion has come back and now he's right back in the swing of things playing the game again. I saw it as a puzzle I don't understand how to solve. And for me, that was incredibly intriguing. And I very much enjoyed 4th edition for what it was, but I'm actually worse at 4th than I was at 3rd. My record shows I've gotten worse, not better in 4th. and I'm actually having to redesign my entire playstyle as a veteran Kings player this year at Masters. All 6 games felt one turn too fast for third pacing, so I have to redesign my entire playstyle around a new tempo and a new change and new traps with sticky flanks and different things like that. But the launch was a pretty notable shift in the core book from even where it is today, and definitely from third. The first round of FAQs did a lot to address overnight problems, but to have a launch with that many issues that early on, added to the lack of hype, added to the actual physical, you can't get your rulebook in time, and here's a delay, and here's an unexpected issue, was a sort of a really bad storm for a launch. Do I think in 6 months the next book will be the really crucial book for the health of the game? I do. But what they've changed and what they've done so far has done a lot to fix some of the really bad, like, I don't know if I want to play this game. I think they fixed some of those really egregious problems. And there's still a lot of work to be done. But to be fair, when second went to third, I thought they were idiots. So what do I know? Second to third took me like a year to really get the rules. I was like, I kind of like this Clash of Kings book now. It's better. I don't want to go back to second anymore. So
I'll ask you what I've asked our previous guest, Kyle. Do you have faith that Mantic will make the changes necessary by the end of the year here with the book that comes out later this year?
I think they'll make enough of the changes to show that the path is correct. But any game I've ever played competitively at a high level, esports, card games, war games, I assume after a major redesign that it's probably around a 2-year journey to balance competitive play. But I want to see progress every 30, 60, 90 days. So I live by that. When I played Magic at a very high competitive level, that was a very similar. This expansion might have been a mistake, but the next block should, in theory, balance out this mistake. What you don't want is repeated instances of mistakes that don't make any sense to you without also context for those changes from a company. So I think it's there, or else I wouldn't be sitting here doing this and putting in weekly game nights and traveling across the country doing games and hosting GTs. But again, we're building a community, right? So if Kings of War just starts to suck and I don't have any more fun, the same exact people will play a different game with me and they can keep playing Kings. And on Mantic Mondays, I'll just be like, hey, who wants to play Epic Warpath? So my joy in the hobby is not tied to this game. I enjoy this game more than any other right now. But my passion for this hobby, Kings of War didn't exist when I was 5 years old playing American Civil War with Dad, right? It didn't exist. I'm going to play war games until I'm too old to read the dice. So it's hard to say it doesn't matter to me, but if this rule set just sucks and we don't want to go back to third and fourth collapses, who cares? It'll hurt, but I'll just play a different game. But I think it's going in the right direction. I think it will be stable. And I know, at least in my group, it is, because we are still seeing people play. We're still seeing people come back from third and dip their toe back in. And our events are not underselling. So I think it's moving.
Right. Yeah, I'll add on my thoughts. So I think, I need to collect my thoughts. There's a few things that I'd like to touch on. So Fracture book surprised me pleasantly because there was an earlier message from Mantic say, hey, Fracture is going to be a small change. The end of the year book, Arrogance, will be a bigger change. So when that message dropped from Mantic, I thought that, we're just going to get the 4 expansion factions and maybe just 1 or 2 tweaks, and that's it. Like the most egregious ones get. But then there was a healthy amount of tweaks here and there. Of course, some nerfs are overdone and rolled back. /green. Talking about Green Rage over there. Well, according to Mantic, it was a mistake in the first place. So Arrogance gives me a bit more confidence that it will go in the right direction, like what Kyle said. And I'm not sure about Mantic, but I think if Mantic gives the players, especially the core playtest group players, more agency and more control over what the changes they like to implement, that would be better for the game. Because we have seen this 4th edition gone through the hands of Alicio and Matt Gilbert, who both don't play the game as much as players, hardcore players of the game who has been playing for the past 5 to 10 years. Alicio, as a professional game designer, did bring new things to the game that are interesting. I think there are some improvements and there are things that doesn't work out. So if they don't work out, I think the game, the core playtest group or Mantic needs to take the courage to say, "Oh, right, this is not working out. Let's scrap this." The biggest problem right now is the aiming issue. The aiming and hitting on 3+, while steady aim is lost from the game, so there's no granularity of rolls. We have touched a lot about that in the previous live stream. I think that's one of the biggest issues. Faction commands in general are an issue, but I think they are here to stay. That's the biggest flavor change for 4th edition. So it would be terrible to scrap it totally. So whether we like it a lot, we like it a little, we don't like it at all, I think it should be here to stay. And I think it is acceptable with enough balancing and when all factions get their full roster of commands. Another issue is the list building. So a lot of people are complaining list building is boring or that their list is invalidated, especially from 2nd to 3rd edition. There was one huge debacle, which is the rules regarding staying in combat, right? If you guys remember, there's a whole bunch of rules, mess of rules there. When are you allowed to be within 1 inch of the enemy? When are you not? Because of being stuck in combat, staying in combat being a thing that changed from 2nd to 3rd edition. In 2nd edition, no matter it used to be after your combat resolves, if the enemy is not dead, you have to bounce back an inch, and then it is time consuming because when you bounce back and then the next turn the opponent charge you and then he pushes forward and then he bounces back again. So they decided to scrap that in 3rd edition, but then it came up with a lot of mess in the rules regarding the interactions around that. So they even at a point says replace this entire page with this following set of rules, and it's like one whole page of rules in the FAQ just to resolve that problem. And it took a few fixes to fix that. But generally, the game stayed the same other than that, right? 4th edition, we see a lot of major change, and list building is one. So another set of comments I've seen when I ask around about why the players dipped in 4th edition is that, yeah, players are not that excited. And yet, to give it a try, their lists are invalidated. So they have to field more core units. Most of the time, it's more core units, and they're just not excited to paint them up to even try. So that's I think especially edition change where it significantly changes list building, you have to be extra careful, because for the player to just give it a try, they have to rebuild lists and they have to buy new models, base new models just to give it a go if they're very particular about it. Of course, you can say we can play blank bases and all that, but there are players who prefer to have their models painted before they play. So yeah, I agree with you, Carl. Creating the hype from the company standpoint is a 0 out of 10. They did engage content creators in the Kings of War space and they gave teasers for each podcast content creator to cover. And then there was a drought after that, which was ridiculous because you have some content, but the thing was, even those content that's being teased was not. People were very what do you call that? They're not very confident with the things that are being teased, and then there's a lot of questions swirling around in people's heads. instead of getting excited, they're getting worried, and then there's a drought of content for like 2 months after all the information has been given to the podcasters, and then the product is still not released.
There's a lot of ambiguity.
It was an ill-advised release system and release schedule. And again, I genuinely think a lot of it was just Kings was lost in the shadow of Halo. Having seen that stuff and knowing how industries work and having done stuff with other games and other games and being friends with game stores, that's where I'm at. And the biggest thing that I've heard is also my list is invalid, including some of my own, or big change. And at its staple, the idea that we want lots of models on the table playing a game and an infantry game is very much in line with the design style of first edition, early second, and fourth. Toys Before Boys really sorted end of second and most of third. Whether it's better, whether it's worse. As someone who has watched the game go more and more and more away from what we would call core today, it doesn't hurt me. I think the game is in a healthier core, like a healthier base set with an emphasis on core instead of toys, and introducing new players to the game has certainly never been easier. But if you're going to make it around that, I want the hype, I want the justification, I want the promise of good faith in the future going forward. We just didn't see it. So there is a real valid set of grumbling and discontent. But again, if it's going to sound dumb, it's going to sound like an echo chamber, but if I have a healthy community, as an entire community, we can decide what do we want to do with it. If you're 3 guys in a basement, there's not a lot of insulation against something going wrong. It's 3 guys in a basement going, I guess we're playing something else. And that's it. And you also have an echo chamber when it's 3 guys in a basement. If I put a comment in our Discord about a new game or whatever, I'm going to have input from people from all spectrums of gaming give their input on whether or not we think that's worth doing. Like, we want to do another Mordheim campaign. That didn't just sit in the Kings of War chat. That's in the group, general chat, announcements, schedule, whatever. We want to do this. Is there enough interest to do this? And for this go around, there is. But we've also had games be like, hey, does anyone want to do this? No? Okay. I won't. Don't worry about it. You need that variety. But the launch of Fourth was a struggle bus. Mantic is now playing catch up. I will say they have a phenomenal track record of playing catch up and recovery. They've done it many times. It's probably not the right business model, but if you're gonna suck at the first part, you got to get good at the second part. And I have seen them do it more than once. So this is obviously a Kings of War chat about Kings of War, but it can't be the only identity you're chasing. So, but yeah, fourth was a rough launch. As the person, people were like, hey, Kyle, how's this in our community asking me questions? And I'm like, I don't know what they're doing. It's a rough answer to be as someone who's also like a Pathfinder and trying to grow the store and convince the store that they should buy more models. And, both of my hats were like, I don't know what's happening. I'm just going to play goblins and hope for the best, man. So that's where we're at. But yeah, it's an interesting one, and you always have to ride the line. I'm not a Mantic fanboy, but I support Mantic with my money and my time. But if they do something dumb, I'm also just gonna tell them they did something dumb.
Yeah,
and have, in fact, many times. I've also told them they've done stuff right to their face. So I'm not afraid to send people a message or send them an email or draft up revisions for different people or share my opinions on or off the volunteer clock. So, but on the whole, it's a net positive, or I wouldn't be here doing this, right? I think everything is in the right direction. I've never had it easier to grow the scene. The core rules are incredibly enjoyable to me, and 4th edition has a vision that I can see in the rules. Very much like the jump from 1st to 2nd. Like, that was a massive, I see what direction you want to go. Long term, who knows? But right now, I think it's in a getting healthier trajectory.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So, things that I agree with fourth edition, I think 2 pivots in the move makes things a lot easier, especially for the new player. It might make it harder for for experienced players to catch opponents off guard with their superior movement skills, but it makes it easier for the new player to get in. And I think anything that makes it easier for new players to get into the game is a good thing. The being able to move through your friendly units with your charging together makes it that you don't block each other's charges, and I think that's a good change for not for because it always feels bad that you tell the new player, "Hey, I'm sorry. I know you have positioned your 2 units to be able to in preparation to double charge me, but because you place them badly, you're blocking your own way and you can't charge." And it's always a few bad moments for the new player. So as much as that is a differentiator for new and versus experienced players in third, I think we can do without it in fourth, and I think that's a positive change. So these are the 2 of the changes that makes things much easier, accessible for new players to learn the game. I think Carl alluded to the game. The battle lines crashed usually 1 turn earlier now in fourth edition, because I think in third you spend the first 1, 2, 3 turns jostling for position until you find an optimal time to charge. That happens quite a lot in third edition because of the movement restrictions, right? So you shuffle your units up to threaten, the opponent shuffle their units to set up a defensive line. You find that, oh, I can't find a crack in his line, so I'm going to shuffle again. And then the opponent with the restricted movement capability tries to shuffle to respond to your threat, but then there's always the cracks that form, and that's when you start to charge. These cracks are much less common now, so you just have to jostle the first and second turn, and then you're gonna charge in, and that's why, in general, fourth edition, the battle lines meet 1 turn earlier. Shooting is weaker. I think that's also part of what contributes to it. In general, of course, there is the egregious 3+ shooting units, which we have talked to death in the previous live stream. So that needs to be addressed as well. Yeah. Regarding, I have one of my players who went to War Machine. He said that because of the list building changes and you need more core, it becomes harder for new players to play the game from a hobby point of view, because you have to paint up much more infantry models. If you're running 3 to 4 core infantry, that's a lot of models to paint up, easily 100 before you can start playing the game, even at a smaller points level. So I'm hoping what we can do with Mantic, removing preferred model counts, minimal model count, we can normalize. And another thing is people complaining about the prices that Mantic is creeping up to, right? Let's normalize having less models on each base. This is one of my local players. 2 regiments of Twilight Kin. Right.
Looks great to me.
5 models on the base, but with basing materials, scenic elements, looks fine. 5 models to a base. Let's make this a norm for Kings of War. If the barrier to entry, the barrier to playing, is the number of models you have to paint. Looks fine, right?
If
5
you
models.
are here and putting in effort, it's good, right?
Yeah.
Everyone remembers when I played with plastic toy dinosaurs. I am putting in the effort to be here to the best of what I can do at this point in time, whether it's bad paint, whether it's bad models, whether it's 3D printed armies, whether it's the vault or not, right? I'm not here to police your hobby. I'm here to encourage you and help you become a better version of what you want to be on the table, skills, hobby, whatever. Are you a contrast paint and a dry brush? Fantastic. It's done. Let's go play. Done is a finished standard.
Yeah.
But, at the same token, like, do I want what you have in that picture to be the expected norm? No. I I enjoy like the tournament standard that we see. Would I have an issue with that player at my event? No. Love it. Let's go. Let's be engaged. And let's make hobby part of the hobby, right? Put the hobby in hobby. What a weird idea. But the other thing you talk about is barrier to entry. One of the ways we get around that, you can't give our club any excuse. Oh, I don't have models. Oh, that's a shame. Which army do you want to borrow from which player? Done. Hey, I'm not sure how to paint or how to do this. Oh, that's cool. Is it something you want to learn? Something you don't have time? If you know, gray models to get in and do an event. A lot of our one-day events have a special character or a compulsory character, just a giant, just a mammoth, just a flag banner. The only hobby we track in the one day is the compulsory character. You can bring a gray army and one painted banner bearer. If the banner bearer is the compulsory hero, your hobby is completed for the event. You get max points. That's it. It's all you get graded on. And we do a ton of doubles. 1,100 points a player, 1,200 points a player. Tonight was 1,500 to 1,500. It was huge. Doubles events are a fantastic way to keep the barrier to hobby down, double your table space, because now 4 people are playing on a 6x4. You can rotate partners around. You can bring blind lists. You can roll dice when you get there. So you can do a lot, keeping the hobby down, opening up space, having tons of it never gets bored or stagnant, even in a smaller group. But yeah, I mean, that picture right there is phenomenal, right? Bring it, play it, have fun. I wouldn't make a push that should be the norm. I think that's a little light, even with the hobby and the terrain and the elevation. But you put that at my event, our scoring system would give that a pretty high hobby score. We have multiple ways for you to do well, and I would never be upset to play against that on the table. Ever. And with 3D printing, I know not everyone has access to it. Not everyone has access to a 3D printer. Not everyone has access to someone to buy 3D prints from. But in the world of cost, I can get right now a goblin army made for about what it costs to take my wife and kid out to dinner. An entire goblin army printed and set if I don't do the printing myself. So not everyone has access to that. I understand that, but we're at a world where with 3D printing you can get armies for unnecessarily cheap.
Yeah,
if that's your only barrier.
Cost, I feel, is a smaller factor as compared to
The
hobby
time.
getting the models painted. And of course, 3D printing also saves time on assembly, right? Because assembly does take time as well.
Yeah, and I guess you got to paint it. So, like I said, that army you have the picture of is fantastic to me. It's fine. It's great. I have no beef with it. No problem with it.
Yeah. You can field if it's difficult for you to field 10, 20 models on a regiment. Yeah, just go creative with the basing. 5 models is good enough. Of course, it may not be the norm, but it should be widely accepted if the player is going this route. Understand that the barrier to entry to this ranks and flanks game is very high, and one of it is painting models. So if players like to represent their regiments with less models, so be it, right? If they are very particular about how their army looks, at some point they might say, hey, they looks kind of empty. I prefer my regiments to look like they have more bodies. They will eventually get to it, but they need to have that excitement and interest for it first, right? So yeah, just to go back to the situation about the rollout of Fourth, I think what Mantic could have done as a company, yes, is living in the shadow of Halo. They don't demo it at the conventions that they go to. But even then, I thought they could have announced 4th edition to more news outlets. I would say there are gaming news outlets out there, right? There are some websites that promotes wargaming in general, no matter which company it's from. I'm not sure if it made the waves. I don't hear people outside of the Kings of War community saying, hey, Mantic has released the 4th edition of Kings of War. It promises this and that. It is the premier ranks and flanks game. It is one of the only ones out there still. So have a look, because I think there's very little of that in this edition. I'm very active in the YouTube sphere, so there are YouTubers in the wargaming niche that plays multiple war games from multiple companies, and they are the ones that you should get the information to, because our Kings of War community is already very well connected, right? So getting the information out to the Kings of War content creators, it's sort of to keep the interest of the veterans, but you need to spread the word to new potential players, especially in the wargaming space. So when we get new players, it's often people who are in other game systems that are curious about Kings of War, right? Because the hobby is already so niche. Kings of War is usually not the entry point. So you really need to get the word out there to the wargaming channels. There are even on YouTube, like Tabletop Minions is one that I can think of. A lot of the painting channels is where people from multiple game systems subscribe to. So you should, I think they did that before somewhere in 3rd edition. They gave out, they paid the miniature painting channel and sponsored the models, say, hey, paint this up for your channel, make a video out of it. I think they did not do it this time around. I think that's also another missed opportunity, especially when the launch of Zerkali and Trident Realms, the models are pretty good. So they should have capitalized on that.
No, they missed the mark.
Oh, what's this?
So they missed the mark, but all we can do as a community now is focus on what we as players, community leaders, and what we're going to do next, right? So if we could spend 6 weeks lamenting errors, but it's not going to make my hobby time or my game time every week any more enjoyable or any more diverse or exciting. So I've actually just squished all that down and moved on. And if someone asks me about it, like you guys, I'll tell you. But when new guy Billy walks up to the table, you know what new guy Billy doesn't want to hear? Boy, this is really fun, but I really wish they had done the launch differently. Because you know what new guy Billy's not going to do? He's not going to come back. The end all summary is, if you're having fun playing a game in public, other people will want to have fun playing the game in public. Obviously, this niche is a relatively safe space to be depressed or be cranky or lament what haves and what ifs, because there's nothing we could do to make Adam's mood any more monotone. And there's at least 7 or 8 people who watch this already know all these answers. But on the table, when I'm there, my only goal is to have fun. As long as I'm having fun every week, I'm going to keep doing, and the scene's going to keep growing. And if I find I'm not having fun, whether it's my own fault, the community's fault, or the game's fault, I'm just going to switch whatever the problem is. So
we have a new user on the chat. Felt that he had to chime in. Duckhand 868. How dare you? A good daily grumble is healthy for a wargamer.
You need a good daily grumble, but it's not healthy for growing the scene. Get them addicted. Let them be overly committed financially and with time. Have gone to 3 tournaments with you. Then be like, hey, by the way, did I ever tell you how pissed off I was at the Epic Warpath launch? And they're stuck now. Get them to the point, get them past bingo, past the point of no return, and then you go full Adam Ballard in a car ride with them as soon as they get past that point. That's it. But you got to get them there.
That's right. You got to put that ring on the finger first, and then be like, "Oh, by the way, these war games, they don't cook, they don't clean. All right, let me tell you."
Yeah. This one's for the wife, and this is for the pirate life. And I'll tell you which one has a much stronger tan line. It's not the pirate life. No, but there's a big difference, right? Between in the basement with 2 beers playing a game, you could be as unhappy, cantankerous as you want. Although why you would do that, I still don't understand. Your goal's to have fun. But if you're going to the game store for any game system, and you want to bitch about the game system you're actively playing, why are you playing that game system? Just Just take a break, find something else. Go be bad at Lorcana for a couple of weeks and spend your entire retirement savings on that. I've done that too. You're fine.
Hey, now.
Play
I thought
Catan.
you were talking about me.
No, I've made poor life choices, Adam. It's fine. I paid rent with Magic. Remember, you can't go lower than me. That I was at the bottom.
I've been playing Lorcana. I've enjoyed it. So
yeah, I enjoyed it right until I thought maybe I'd get competitive, and then I was like, nope, never mind. This is not for me. I'm too poor for this game. But no, if you want to look at yourself as a community leader, the first thing you have to remove is grumbling, right? I don't care if it's sales. I don't care if it's the game. We're do some more life advice. If you're acting like a depressed person who's unhappy, you're going to attract and build depressed people who are unhappy. If you're like, man, I'm having fun. Maybe this is no longer my tournament game, but I'm just having fun. Guess what? You'll bring in a bunch of other people who just want to have fun, and it's not a tournament game. Then maybe a couple tournament people rise out of it. But just don't be a dick. On my wall, this office doesn't have it yet because I share it with other people. But this is the first office that doesn't have "Don't suck, make money," and "Don't be a dick" written behind my desk. So I don't have a wall. That's actually why I can't do it. My desk stares at the front door. But "Don't be a dick" and "Don't suck, make money" have been written or spray painted on every wall of every office I've ever had. And it works shockingly well for growing wargaming scenes too. Once they're stuck, once they're committed, then you can be a dick. But they have to be in and committed. They've had to have drank the Kool-Aid. They have to have painted 200 core. Once they're in, then you can just like, by the way, back in my day, you only had to have 8 models to play a 2,000 point game. But until then, just, have fun. It's such a novel idea. I know I'm beating on a dead horse here, but just have fun. Build a scene with humans.
Pretty sure this is Eric Greiner.
Probably is.
The name sounds
868 says, I definitely won't stop the grumble or the attempt at playing, even if my army isn't top tier at this point. I just like to do all the meme grumble.
Yeah. Now a meme grumble, that's acceptable. A meme grumble is expected and acceptable.
He says, indeed.
All right.
Yeah,
I'd
like to dedicate the rest of the time to talk about what we can do next for sure. Which was why when 4th launched, it was also a puzzle that I'm trying to crack. Like, hey, do I enjoy this game? Do I not? I played quite a lot of games at that point of time. I think even now, on an average, I play 1 to 2 games a week since 4th edition launched. So, trying to figure out whether I like it or not. And that's why I didn't stop. I stopped making battle reports. But at one point, a month or 2 ago, I'm like, all right, I think I can continue playing this game. I hope to grow this game. Let me start by making that intro to Kings of War video as my first video of 4th edition, hoping to help people, like-minded people, to say, okay, I think the game is playing catch up. It's at a point that I'm able to invest more time, willing to invest my time to continue playing this game, and let's get more people interested in the game for sure. Right? So good points about 4th edition. We are seeing improvement from Fracture, and hopefully Arrogance will continue that momentum. Core playtest group players, if you're listening out there, do continue the good work, pushing the things that work through, and the new things that doesn't work, let's fix them or remove them entirely. Like Kyle said, 2 years to get the game to a stable competitive state, right? So we're not there yet. We're hopefully getting there. Game has one big positive. Yes, the game is easier for new players to get into because of how much easier it is to move. Whether strategically you have lost some strategic what do you call that depth of gameplay. You might argue it's a loss, but you can't argue it's easier for new players to play without feeling bad that, oh, I messed up my movement, so I'm just gonna accept my fate and lose this game. So that's gonna happen less often. Yeah, so maybe I'll ask how now, what has your community done right since the launch of 4th edition to have enjoy its growth so far?
I'm going to assume you mean how are we staying healthy and having fun with that question? Like, how are we growing and staying healthy? A couple of pieces. So I'm going to sort of just list out the things we are doing that have worked. We haven't, hobby challenges, by the way, have not worked for our community. We hobby a lot, but like hobby leagues hasn't really done it. So I'll just give you that one. We haven't found that to work in any of our game systems. We'd rather just say, hey, play the game and bring painted models because it's more fun. First thing we do is we have a stated, scheduled time to play. This is Mantic Mondays. There is other sections in our community for their games that have their specified time and location that they play. Mordheim skirmish Wednesdays, Mantic Mondays, 40K I think is starting to dip back into Thursdays, but our community knows this game takes place on this day. Anything we're scheduling with events goes there. So consistency. I mean, this community wasn't built overnight, right? This is a multiple year journey to get to where we're at now. And a lot of it was me showing up week after week after week after week. And sometimes you're the only guy in the store when it's new. Post 4th, I haven't had this issue. Our scene's big enough they could thrive without me. I'm ancillary now. So consistency. Next thing we do is we actually, inside Mantic Mondays, run micro tournaments. We run Kings of War Blitz. It's typically 1,000 points. You play on a 3-foot wide, 4-foot deep table, and it is 25 minutes of player on the clock with 1 hour round timers. We start at 6, we're done at 9, we're out the store by 9:15. We reserve that with the store. We get extra tables. You can fit 12 people on 6 spaces. So you can fit 12 players on 3 tables for a Blitz event. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 12 players on 3 6-foot by 4-foot tables. And you can play a 1-day tournament in sub 4 hours from show up to go home. It gets people used to being on the clock. It adds a lot of stress. It's a lot of fun. It's very, very easy to say, hey, new guy, by the way, do you want to borrow an army? Come to this event. It's going to be a blast. Yeah, you'll probably struggle. Who cares? Let's go. Let's have fun. It's a high intensity. There's not a lot of downtime when you have 25 minutes. You're just going. And our club has a really huge emphasis on cleanliness of play, marking your bases, doing everything. So it forces you to just make decisions and play, have a lot of fun. We do stupid little prize support and trophies and high fives for those events. There's nothing. We did a Blitz event where first and last place got fried chicken. All right. It doesn't have to be anything serious. So who just have fun with it. But we're able to fit a 1-day inside a Monday night gaming event. And there's clubs telling me they don't have time to run events. We run actual 1-days on Saturday or Sunday with partnership with our store and outside the store. Here is arrival time at 9, dice at 9:30, play the structure. And we have several different kinds of those. But the format we've really sort of fallen in love with is the everybody needs X model. Whether it's every army gets a Clanlord on Fire Drake with the one I ran in 3rd, you get a Clanlord on Fire Drake, whether you can unlock it or not, whether your army should have it or not. And by the way, it's a themed 1-day. Have lore, have written lore, have narrative, and the only hobby is that model. That's it. Now there's ogre players who have converted dragons that they complain about never needing to use again. And I'm like, well, we'll just have to have another 1-day. It's not a big deal. The one we have coming up that already has a wait list is everybody gets a big deal, but it's a different big deal than the book. So technically you could have 2 big deals and mammoths. I'm not saying there's 2 players bringing a 5 mammoth list, but I think there's 2 players bringing a 5 mammoth list at 2,300. It'll be hilarious. But yeah, so we have these sort of more narrative and hobby focused one days. We've got our fast one days, our blitz. We ran a trial GT at my house, and now we're hosting the Ohio GT in October. We're expecting between mid 30s to high 40s based on who's already paid and attended, who said they're coming for our inaugural true GT in a casino here in Columbus, Ohio, October 2nd and 3rd. So we're putting in the work. We have scoring systems, hobby systems. We've tested these things. We've taken what we love from all the tournaments we've gone to and combined them, and then we bring those to our local store. Hey, here's some more maps. Here's some other ways to play missions. Here's other ways to play the game. And then I know some people just can't stand to hear it, but playing doubles has been instrumental in not only building our scene, but keeping our scene healthy. And all it is how do I get more people on a table in a store that doesn't have the space? You play on a smaller table, or you put more people on a big table. More people on a big table still feels like kings. So we do doubles. Whether you pick your partner, whether you show up with a bunch of small lists and you roll dice. We've also done doubles one-day events. Hey, we draw names out of a hat. There's your tournament partner for the weekend, or for Monday. Not Monday, I'm sorry. On Saturday or Sunday, you're paired with A and B. There you go. Or you steal formats like BCB, where we pick our partner going into the event. We sign up together, and we bring a set of doubles within the rules, and we go. It's a phenomenal tool to help a new person feel confident at a tournament level that they're not just on their own, sink or swim. You've got a partner, you've got time to go. And the only advice I'll give you guys on doubles is casually, it doesn't matter, right? Go play casual. If you're doing a doubles tournament, keep your points lower than you think and keep your time higher than you think, because doubles typically is a little bit slower format. I need to wait for my partner to roll this combat so I can roll this one because I need to kill the inspiring first. It takes a little more time. And oftentimes you do have one or two rookies using this as their gateway drug to our hobby of Kings of War. But that cluster has been very, very good. And then probably most crucially, we play other games inside our Kings of War community. We are taking breaks. We still play Kings. We still have our Monday. We still have our tournaments. But we are taking mental refreshes and saying, by the way, Mordheim is up. I'm going to skip a couple Mantic Mondays, and I'm going to play Mordheim on Skirmish Wednesdays once or twice. We just finished a Warcry league. I missed half of Mantic Mondays during the league to put time and effort into the Warcry scene, not only to recruit someone else and maybe bring them in, but because it's a great refresher for me. You don't have to just play one game, right? I'm an atypical human being, and I could live on the exact same meal for the rest of my life and be just fine, but you don't have to. So diversify, have fun, take breaks. And the cool thing is, from playing Warcry, we actually found some creative ideas to bring back for scenario changes and custom ideas for Kings of War. So it sounds like a lot of work, and it's because it is, Paige. But you don't do it alone. Build a community. Have a scene.
I have ran a couple of fun events as well. Doubles is fun. But also some players just want to play the normal game. So we have that also. But if there are lots of events and activities to choose from, definitely some of these formats can be quite interesting. My most memorable one was Helpy's Rift League. And it was still, coming out of the dark times of COVID. But we ran a league. I ran with all of the Helpy's Rift campaign rules, with the rolling the dice on the table of effects for the turn, and the ending, the finale to the campaign was a 3 versus 3, or is it 4 versus 4? I think it was 4 versus 4 on 2 6x4s joined together in a custom scenario, and then we had to coordinate our assault. I think it was 1,000 points per player, so it's a 4,000 on 4,000 battle, and everyone had quite a bit of fun. So yeah, thank you, Carl, for all your input and ideas. I see some banter in the chat. So Eric Reiner was saying, I also think doubles is a great way to introduce new players. And he said, I'm a bit slow with typing. Carl just said that. Jason Burr said, Carl Poo is the worst doubles partner ever. To which Eric said, I disagree. We had a great time at Adepticon 2025. And Adam said, I don't know about that. I had you as a partner at doubles event, Jason. What happened here? He broke my hand and you had just defense 6 wall with Regen.
Me and Jason Burr were partners, and I thought he was a big, strong man, and it turns out he's a fragile little man. So there's a picture of me like man crushing his hand as we pray that Jeremy Duvall rolls bad dice, and he does, and then Jason's never forgiven me. So that's all.
You had me early in my elf life, Jason said. All right. With that, thank you very much, Carl, for joining us today. Yeah, I think we spoke quite honestly and candidly on the issues that has started 4th edition on the wrong foot. But I at least is partially optimistic. I can't speak for my co-host Adam, but we will continue this series as I hope to continue to see improvements from Mantic and the playtest community catching up and improving the game. It is at a state that I'm satisfied enough to keep playing the game.
So
yeah, anything you'd like to add on, Adam? Oh, sure, go ahead.
Go ahead. When Adam's done, just before we go, I have my last little bit that I'd like to throw out there.
I was just going to throw. I'm currently in a holding pattern, kind of like Kyle had been saying this whole time. Sometimes you just, if you or your group aren't enjoying the game as much anymore, you need to take a break. You need to play something else for a bit. So that's where I'm at currently. I'm, very happy to still talk all things Kings of War, but playing the game is just not my cup of tea at the moment. So that's why I've forgone my battle reports, similar to how you have, Paige. So I'm taking a break, hoping that I'll have a refresh when I come back. So.
All right, Kyle.
All right. Well, first off, thanks so much for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. It's a topic that's incredibly important to me. So I'll leave the community with this. Honest Fours Gaming on YouTube. We are the collective. Our group is putting out content written on our website, honestforsgaming.com. We have our first armor review. We have a post-masters write-up from 2 first-time masters players. One of them took 2nd Paragon. We've got all sorts of stuff. Our community is doing very well and putting out content, and our chat is full of people breaking down what they want to talk about, what's coming in the future, where are we going. I'm working on like turn 0 strategy, right? How to think about the game before it even hits. We've got more armor reviews coming. So there's that. October 2nd and 3rd in Columbus, Ohio. I invite you to come to the casino and play our Ohio GT tournament. That is a personal invite from me to you. We have 64 seats available. We won't sell out, so please don't think you're an inconvenience. You're not. You're welcome. And then lastly, specific to community building, if you feel that you are in a situation where you're not sure what to do, or you just want a human being who's had experience growing communities, not just for gaming, but professionally, etc., I have also failed in the past. I have experience not winning doing this. Please reach out to me. The best way to do that is on Facebook. It's CYLE. It's not Dino Lord. I'm sorry. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Fanatics. But the best way to do it is to reach out to me directly. I would love to talk to you. It is never an inconvenience to say, hey, can you help me for a couple of minutes? I've got a question. Some of my best friends started by saying, hey, question for you, or I hit them up with one. So please don't feel it's an inconvenience to ask for help. especially in growing a scene and helping to grow this game that I love so much. That's it.
Awesome. I'd like to shout out an event that I forgot to shout out last week. Chris Mozan sent me the information that there's a King Beyond the Wall tournament in Ontario, Canada. It's happening on the 7th, 8th, and 9th of August. Unfortunately, I don't know much more on how to promote this event, but I guess you can always reach out and ask about King Beyond the Wall. And hey, Kyle, you have a new channel, Honest Force. Do type it in the comments so that I can flash it on screen. Where do I find this Honest Force content? Honest Force.
I'll let Adam type it in. I'm on mobile.
I'll go find your channel, I guess.
He probably knows more about my channel than I do, Paige. I'm not going to lie to you.
I subscribed. All right. I did the thing.
I don't know if I've subscribed to my own channel, actually.
Oh, geez. Wow. All right.
What do I know, dude?
Honest Fours Gaming, the number 4. So I'll put it in the chat here for you, Paige. So
look, you sit in our Discord, you got to pay your rent. All right.
Pay your rent. Yeah.
So is this on Discord or where is
that? That is YouTube. So
YouTube. All right.
Yep. And we have our website linked where we put our blogs and write-ups. That is our community as a whole. All of our community leaders have access to this and content. So there's actually less of me here than probably anywhere else. You're welcome.
Jumping to the King Beyond the Wall event, I believe I do know a little bit more information. I think it's Ray Shields, Ben Tersch, and Alex Koos's group. I know they do the Nerve Check podcasts and YouTube stuff. They are the ones, I believe, hosting that event. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they did a video recently on their YouTube. Again, Nerve Check. So go take a look at that. I think 2, maybe all 3 of them are taking some like randomized lists where they just rolled a dice and they assigned units based off the dice rolls. And so it's, I think that's always interesting when people just kind of do random stuff for taking a list to an event. So.
Right. I do have the player pack.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, they have an episode called Rolling an Army for Kings of War.
I'm just going to scroll past. I guess people looking back can always pause to check the information.
Nobody's watched this far into the video page, to be very clear. There's no one left to pause this.
Yeah, Jason's saying we're rolling off for the army I play. Dude, if you want me to play, you're going to have to field an army for me. So just hand me whatever you want, whether you rolled it or not.
Honest Force Gaming, here we go. I found your channel. Subscribed.
See, very little of me, so it's worth watching.
Yeah, it definitely looks like Sam Kula's taken up the most spots on the videos so far.
Long hair don't care.
That's right.
Definitely not that he has the correct amount of free time during the correct hours of the night.
They even got Alex on one of those videos. Oh boy.
Yes,
better watch that one.
So, well, Paige, it's an absolute delight to be on here. I really appreciate it. Adam, you're also here, and that's cool.
Yeah, thanks for joining, Kyle. I am here. Like I said, Paige is doing most of the work here. Yeah. I'm just, showing up on Mondays, hanging out.
Hey, so. I've slept in your house, so
that's true.
We're basically brothers.
That's true.
All right, with that, we'll close out the show. Thank you, everybody, and see you for next week's episode. Bye-bye.